Thank you for the invitation to participate in the International Blueberry Day. It is truly an honor. My name is Mai-Lis Hellénius. I am a physician and a professor at the Karolinska Institutet, Stockholm, Sweden. My research area is nutrition, physical activity, and cardiovascular prevention. I will share some slides with you. So today I will talk about healthy and sustainable eating is plant-based. What can we learn from science about healthy and sustainable eating? I will comment upon blueberries and health, and also today's eating habits. This food pyramid illustrates what research tells us about a healthy eating for us humans. We are omnivores, and there are many different nutrients that we need for health. And there are millions of studies supporting this food pyramid. 2008, the first meta-analysis of 12 observational studies was published. From 1.5 million subjects, we could learn that people that adhere to a healthy diet, like the food pyramid, they lived longer. These are observational studies. The shortest was 3 years and the longest 18 years. And consistently, all of the studies showed that the ones following a healthy diet lived longer. And the same kind of diet was associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular disease and a lower risk of cancer, and also a lower risk of neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease. Since then, many new observational studies have been published, and the most recent meta-analysis included over 100 prospective studies with 3.2 million participants. And they clearly show that a healthy dietary pattern, like the pyramid illustrates, is associated with a decreased risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, type 2 diabetes, neurodegenerative diseases, and also it's associated with longevity. And today there are also studies on people treated for cancer showing that a healthy dietary pattern is associated with a lower risk of dying from cancer and also associated with longevity. But these kind of observational studies are not enough to prove causality. We also need intervention studies. And this is one of the largest and best intervention studies. It's a Spanish study on 7,447 Spanish men and women, 55 to 80 years old. They are high-risk individuals because many of them have type 2 diabetes or high blood pressure, overweight, high blood lipids, and so on. And they were randomized to 3 groups. In one group, they were given advice to follow a more prudent Mediterranean diet. Traditional Mediterranean diet, is a very good model for a healthy dietary pattern. So they were given repeatedly advice on diet, and they were also given for free extra virgin olive oil and were asked to take an extra 3 spoons a day. Group number 2 were given the same kind of dietary advice, and they were provided with walnuts, hazelnuts, and almonds, and were asked to take an extra handful a day, 30 grams. The third group was a control group. After 5 years, every third myocardial infarction and stroke was prevented. And not only the risk of suffering from cardiovascular disease was reduced, they have also published, in fact, they have published over 300 scientific reports. They also noted a substantially reduced risk of type 2 diabetes, breast cancer in women, depression, and also cognitive impairment and dementia. And in this PREDIMED study, they also demonstrate a strong association between the intake of fruit, berries, and vegetables and the risk of cardiovascular disease. The higher the intake of fruit, berries, and vegetables, the lower the risk. And this was true even when they took into account, for example, smoking, type 2 diabetes at baseline, alcohol, education, and so on. Type 2 diabetes is increasing all over the world. And some people have excluded fruit and berries from their diet because they are afraid of the sugar, the fructose in the fruit and berries. But look at this very large American study. Over 180 healthy women and men were followed for decades. They filled in a very detailed dietary questionnaire every 4th year. And they noticed clearly that for every 3 servings a week, the risk of type 2 diabetes was decreased with 26% for blueberries, 12 for grapes, 7 for prunes, and 5% reduction for apples and pears. So, what about blueberries and health? Well, what do we know about berries in general and blueberries in particular? Well, recently, a very extensive review was published in Critical Review and Food Science and Nutrition about blueberries and health. Blueberries are very low in calories, and they are high in nutritive compounds, different kinds of vitamins. They contain monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fatty acids, the healthy forms of fatty acids. Lots of dietary fibers, different kinds of minerals, a diversity of bioactive compounds, for example, phenolic compounds and organic acids, and in fact, more than 15 different anthocyanins. Anthocyanins give the dark blue color of the blueberries, and also many other flavonoids, as for example, quercetin and catechin. And these different nutrients provide many different kinds of positive effects. For example, strong antioxidant activity, anti-mutagenic, meaning that it protects our DNA from damage, anti-inflammatory, anti-tumoral, it affects our immune system, antimicrobial activity, and it acts as prebiotics. And these different effects contribute to the preventive effects of chronic diseases like obesity, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, common cancers, and also dementia and Alzheimer's disease. What about today's eating habits? Well, just a few months ago, the dietary guidelines for American, the updated version, was published. And in fact, it's the most recent updated guidelines we have in the world right now. And look at the adherence to a healthy diet. Among young people, half of the population do not adhere to a healthy diet. And this slide demonstrates the intake of fruits and berries. And as you can see, 80% of the population eat too little fruits and berries. So there is much health and well-being still to gain. And the diet collaborators, a group of researchers that have studied health effects of dietary risks in 195 countries, they conclude that improvement in diet could prevent 1 in every 5 deaths globally, and especially so from cardiovascular disease and cancer. So we need to turn this pyramid upside down. And the knowledge about nutrition and health has increased rapidly and substantially, and this gives us a better basis when updating different dietary guidelines on a national basis or an international basis. But the last step, the implementation of the knowledge, is the most important one, I think. We need to spread the knowledge to enable healthy choices. We need inspiration and support. We need practical tips and recipes. And I would like to end my presentation with sharing with you a recipe from Sundkurs. Sundkurs is a free web page with lifestyle courses and lots of practical tips. For example, over 300 recipes on healthy food. And this is a recipe of blueberry pie. It's very tasty, and you find the recipe in the abstract from my presentation. So my message is, I think we need to include health more clearly in sustainability. I talked about health effects from a healthy diet, but a healthy dietary pattern also promotes a better environment. Much health and well-being is still to gain. And among other things, we need to include more berries in our diets. And finally, we must not forget that the food pyramid stands on a basis of daily physical activity. So why not pick the berries ourselves and take a walk in the nature? Thank you very much. I would like to thank the organizers and also the Swedish Heart and Lung Foundation and the Karolinska Institutet, and thank you for listening.